What's up, guys? Ricky here. Do you love Most Valuable Podcasts? And are you like myself where things that you like, you just have to let people know because they've got to be on your t-shirt at all times? If you do, you're in luck because we got Most Valuable Podcast t-shirts. You've probably seen myself, Dave, Mark, Sean, Brandon. You might have seen us wearing these t-shirts in videos. The good thing is now you can get your hands on one too. How do you do so? First off, send us an email, mostvaluablepodcast@gmail.com. Give us your name, your size, your address. We will then send you an invoice through Square. That's how you'll pay for it, $22 per shirt. And then after we get the money, we will send you a great Most Valuable Podcast t-shirt for you to wear so you can tell everybody that you love listening to Most Valuable Podcast. So go check it out. The directions are also in the description. What are you waiting for? We got the shirts just for you.
Let's jump into the main attraction, boys. We are talking about our mock draft 2.0. If you're on YouTube, there's going to be 3 different segments. We're going to do 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30, just like we did in our 1.0. If you're listening on Blog Talk Radio, it's going to be all through. You guys are not going to have any interruptions. But let's jump into it. Ricky Widmer, we're going to start off with you, and you're going to give us your 1 through 10 in your mock draft.
Well, starting off, the Phoenix Suns going Luka Doncic, the guard overseas. Then the Hawks going DeAndre Ayton, the center from Arizona. Mavericks going then with another center, your boy Mo Bamba from Texas, Hook 'em Horns. We got the Orlando Magic at number 4 going with my boy Trae Young, point guard from Oklahoma, Boomer Sooner. Number 5, the Kings going with Michael Porter Jr., forward from Mizzou. Grizzlies at 6 going with Marvin Bagley III from the Duke Blue Devils. 7, the Cavs via the Nets going Miles Bridges, forward from Michigan State. My Bulls then taking Mikal Bridges, the guard forward from Villanova. Then the Knicks going Kevin Knox, forward from Kentucky. And rounding out the top 10, the 76ers via the Lakers going with Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., the forward from Michigan State.
Can't wait to talk about that Jaren Jackson disrespect at 10.
Incredible.
We'll definitely get to that real quick. Yep. But also just want to mention we are using the standings as of after the All-Star break. So right now, this is the Friday. We got the Rising Stars happening tonight. The Celebrity All-Star game as well with my with my girl. I forget her name now. But anyways, Dave, we're going to go into your mock draft. Who's your 1 through 10?
All right, starting at number 1, I have DeAndre Ayton going 1. At 2, I've got Luka Doncic to the Hawks. At number 3, I've got the Mavericks taking Jaren Jackson Jr. Number 4, the Magic, as I claim, always taking Trae Young regardless. 5, I have the Kings taking Michael Porter Jr. 6, I've got the Grizz going with Marvin Bagley. 7, the Cavs via Nets are taking Mikal. And 8 with the Bulls are going Miles Bridges, both the Bridges back-to-back. I think we all have that almost. Number 9, I've got the Knicks taking Colin Sexton. And number 10, the Sixers, my man, taking Kevin Knox.
We do have the Bridges going back-to-back, different orders and different spots, but we do, if there's a Bridges, there's one that's following. And Rachel Demita, that's her name. We saw her on Twitter, and Jesus. Anyways, let's go into my top 10. Number 1, the Phoenix Suns taking DeAndre Ayton out of Arizona. Number 2, the Atlanta Hawks taking Luka Doncic from overseas. Number 3, the Dallas Mavericks going with my boy Mo Bamba. I told you guys, wherever the Dallas Mavericks land, that's where Mo Bamba will fall.
1, 3, 5 doesn't matter.
They could take Michael Porter, but I like
They're
Mo
going
Bamba.
Mo Bamba. Number 4, the Orlando Magic going with Trae Young. Just like Dave's rule of Trae Young going to the Orlando Magic, Mo Bamba's tied to Dallas Mavericks. Number 5, the Sacramento Kings are going with Jaren Jackson Jr. from not Mississippi State. I always want to read MSU as Mississippi State. Michigan State. Number 6, the Memphis Grizzlies going with Marvin Bagley III. Cavs going with Michael Porter Jr. The Bulls going with Wendell Carter Jr. at 8. Number 9, the New York Knicks going with Miles Bridges from Michigan State. And then number 10, the 76ers going with Mikal Bridges out of Villanova. And let's jump into the first pick, guys. DeAndre Ayton is my pick for the Phoenix Suns. Dave is going with DeAndre Ayton for the Phoenix Suns, but Ricky, you're the lone man with Luka Doncic being the number 1 overall pick. I think the first international player since Andrea Bargnani was the number 1 overall pick. Could be wrong about that. I mean, technically there's been international players, but they played in college with Wiggins and Anthony Bennett. But you're going with the international player from Real Madrid. Why do you got Doncic going to the Suns?
I mean, with me, I look at it where when Luka comes over, like I always see him as point guard, but he's probably not going to be a point guard, but he's going to be the ball handler for this team. And I look at it, Alfred, to me, I looked at it and went, you need a point guard because I'm not sold on Alfred Payton. I mean, yeah, you get him, you can probably keep him because he's only an RFA at the end of the year. Do you go that? Or do you go with a center because Tyson Chandler's getting up there in age? Yeah, you do have him for one more year, and he's given good numbers, not great numbers, but pretty good numbers, about like double-digit points, about 7 rebounds, I think.
He's an old man, though.
Yeah, he's an old man. And the thing I came down to was I'm going to go Luka over Ayton because as the depth goes through the draft, that second pick that the Nets have, I think it's, what, 17? Well, the Suns
have it at 15.
They can better get another big man than a point guard at that point in the draft. So I'm like, you know what? Take the point guard or the guy who's going to ball handle right now and worry about my big man later.
My thought, Dave, and you could back me up since we both have Ayton here. I understand your direction of they need a point guard or at least a guy that can be a star at that point guard position. I understand you going through that route, and that's why I had difficulties making a pick there. But I ended up going with Ayton because you look at the 2 games that Payton has played so far in Phoenix. He's been playing really well so far. Was their leading scorer against Golden State. Was the only really bright spot in that game, and then his first game as well. He's being able to dish around the ball. And one thing too with Alfred Payton and that Orlando team is, he had Vucevic, he had Fournier, but I feel like that team just wasn't spaced well. That team just really wasn't catered to his needs. And so far, it seems like Payton has changed over a bit. It seems like he's not weirdly grown because you can't grow on a plane ride.
Yeah.
But it seems like he's kind of understanding the NBA a little bit more as he's growing. I think he's 22, 23 now. And I think with Payton, he's never going to be a star in the NBA, but I think he could definitely be a starter. And I think that's something where if he continues to play at this level, at least what he's shown in the first 2 games with the Suns, I feel like they would definitely take the flyer of re-signing him, and then you would have him as your starting point guard, and then you'd go with DeAndre Ayton because you have Bender and Chris. Those guys are more 4s. You have Jackson and my boy T.J. Warren at the 3, obviously Devin Booker at the 2, and then Payton would be your 1. I feel like that's a really nice 7, 8 players, I think if my math's right, 8 players right there for the Suns to rely on, and Payton, while he might not be the guy going 7 years down the line, you can get that guy at 15 where you take a project like a Hamidou Diallo or one of those guys that are really raw and develop him with the time that you have Payton under contract.
The only thing I think of, and just to throw it in there, Dave, before you give your thing, is I kind of relate it to the Cavs right now where it's like, yeah, you're playing great. It's 2 games, but we're still in the honeymoon period after these trades. Let's wait, see how the season goes. Then at the end of the year, kind of make our decision of, is Alfred Payton the guy moving forward?
I'm going with the pure luck behind this that is a Magic trade. Therefore, he will be successful wherever he goes after them. And that is why Alfred Payton will be their starting point guard of the future. And I think it's fit, and I think it's also like the style of their offense and what they're doing out there for the Suns. It's a very different environment than what the Magic were rolling with, like you said, Sean. I think that DeAndre Ayton is just too much of, and I don't want to use the word unicorn because he's not, it's too much of like a rare find as far as his body, his build, and his athleticism and his shot. Like he has everything going for him, with the only question always coming back to effort and defense. And like if he consistently has a motor, there is nothing that can stop him. Like there are like 4 guys in the NBA who could stop him offensively. That's a scary thing. And I think that you get somebody like that as young as he is, and you bring him into this team, he is the perfect linchpin for that 5. He can help you stretch out the floor. He gives you great presence on offense, and you can always have him feed the bucket. I think that as much as I love Luka, and I think he's still the best player overall at this point, I think that DeAndre Ayton is potentially the most impactful player coming into this draft purely because of his size, his athleticism, his shot. Like, it's just, I can't not recognize that talent.
Yeah, and the one thing, too, with going back to Doncic, and I think Ayton's a better fit just because of everything that Dave's mentioned. Not only is he just a rare find, a freak athlete, it's something where with Doncic, I feel like they would need more of a Colin Sexton. They would need more of a Trae Young, even though I don't think that would work perfectly with Booker. They need more of a guy who is a pass-first, point guard. Well, not a pass-first, because I wouldn't say Colin Sexton and Trae Young are pass-first, but they would need more of a facilitator, guys who are great passers. And while Luka has the ability to have nice passes, I feel like you would need a guy who's going to be your lead ball handler. Or I'm not really sold on Doncic being your sole and main ball handler, where Sexton and Young would be those guys. So I look at DeAndre Ayton fitting into that system. working him down low with the shooters on the outside like Devin Booker. Peyton's got a decent stroke from the outside. Josh Jackson's still working on a shot, but still is very young and has the potential to become a decent shooter in the NBA. TJ Warren has a nice shot. So I feel, and also Dragon Bender can stretch the floor when he's fully grown. I feel like having that spacing on the floor and putting Ayton down in the middle, I feel like it'd be too much to stop, and I feel like he's too much to pass on for the Suns. But then with the Hawks being at 2, you have Ayton going there. So, I mean, was it just best player available?
Well, this is an easy pick because I got to 2, and I was like, same reasons I had him go number 1 in the 1.0, because the Hawks were number 1 at that time. Go DeAndre Ayton. It was an easy pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing where, it's I think with all of us can agree. Ayton and Doncic right now in all of our minds is 1-2.
Yeah.
Would you say that? Like, no matter the team place, those 2 guys are going 1-2.
I mean, unless the Magic, bump their way up there, then Trae Young has to follow.
The only guy I could see contending is a Mo Bamba. If he lights it up.
See, I'm on the other end. I think Trae Young has potential to pop off throughout the rest of this year and really draw a ton of attention. For him, it's consistency. If he can stay on it and successfully shoot every single night, then he's a guy who has the potential. He's got that he can jump right up to 1, I think. But it's an outside shot still. Like I wouldn't say it's gonna happen.
See, but even then, I would disagree with the Mo Bamba thing, and I wouldn't put Trae Young there. I'd put Jaren Jackson there. I think that he has the possibility to climb up to the 2. So I mean, that's the one thing that the hardest part about this draft for me is your top 3 is going to have Ayton and Doncic, no matter who you are.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's really who's your third guy, and then your third guy. Well, maybe you have Michael Porter there because of the injury. So that's the one thing where the 1-2, especially with the Hawks. I mean, the Hawks really don't have any set players. You have John Collins and Dennis Schroeder who can be around there. But even then, Collins, I don't think he's going to be a part of a big 3. I think he's going to be a really nice player for the Atlanta Hawks.
He could be like an 18-8 guy. Yeah, I think easily.
He could be really good. But I don't think he's ever going to be a star in the NBA. And then with Schroeder, I'm not sure or Schroeder, I don't really know if they want to stick around with him and if he's going to be in this team's future. So they really are free to take any position.
I mean, every second you get, you're trying to make a trade for him.
BPA, baby.
You're trying to get him out there.
And with Luka, too, I mean, not only is it BPA for Dave and I, it's also just the fact that he is going to be able to, be a leader on your team. He's coming in with a ton of experience already professionally. He's going to be a guy that does a lot of things for you. He can shoot from the outside. He can handle the ball. He can, has great handles as well. I think he's a guy that can really set a culture. I mean, obviously, it might be a little bit different coming from Europe into the U.S. and having that load on you, but I feel like he can be a guy that you look at that team and they're defined by what Luka does, and I feel like that would be similar to when you compared him to Gordon Hayward.
Yeah.
The Jazz, when he was over there, the Jazz were defined by Gordon Hayward. Obviously they had great players in Rudy Gobert and et cetera, but they had Gordon Hayward. He was the guy in Utah. I feel like that would be very similar to Atlanta. And with Ayton, I mean, obviously if Luka's gone, Ayton's the clear pick there.
The thing I kind of laugh when I look at Luka and I go to the baseball term of like a 5-tool player. Like he has everything you want covered as far as I'm concerned. The only thing that's in question is always, his burst speed, and that's something that you can work and train for. His body at age 18 is leagues ahead of where you would expect it to be. He is only going to continue to put on muscle and build himself out further, but for the amount of experience, like you said, he's been playing in Europe since he was like 14. He's played internationally in major tournaments against NBA talent, and I think that, like you said, walking into the league, even though he's going to be one of the younger players, he will walk in pretty much that leadership mentality.
Yeah, and the one thing, too, that I want to bring up, and this is just a little bit of a rant, because people are saying, there's better teams internationally than, compared to who they're playing in the NCAA. But the thing is that the NCAA is more closer to NBA basketball than international basketball is. So while an international team might give more problems to an NBA team than an NCAA team, it's going to be a harder transition going from international basketball into the NBA. That's why you see stars like Rudy Fernandez and Sergio Rodriguez come over, or even who's their partner, Milos come over. They really haven't adapted.
He's
the
been
same.
Hurt, though.
No, but I'm saying, but those guys really haven't adapted the same way coming over, and it's rare to see an international star over there come over and be fantastic.
Well, that's the weird thing. We've seen young guys come over who have not gotten the playing time he has, like Kristaps Porzingis, like Frank from New York. I was going to say, you're going to kill me. You got two Euros in New York who've come over recently who didn't get many minutes, didn't get a ton of playing time, and look how high they went, and look what they're doing for the team now. And you look at Luka, and you go, okay, this is a guy who's a leader on his team at age 18. Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. If KP warrants a 3, 4, like he looking back at that draft, like he should have been obviously like 1, 2, but like seriously, I think there's no reason that you could argue Luka shouldn't be in the top 2.
Well, and one thing with Luka and Ricky, I want you to jump in here just because you have Ayton going there. With Luka, I feel that one thing that separates him from Ayton, and the reason why some people have him 1, like Dave has him 1, is because of that leadership, but also because of that really high floor that he has, because he does a lot of things well. It's going to be really hard for him just to be completely bust out. With Ayton, obviously he's fantastic offensively, lacking defensively, but do you see him as the guy on a team? Do you feel like if they take DeAndre Ayton, he is going to be the star of the Atlanta Hawks going from here on out?
And the thing that I think back to is I can't remember what interview I was watching with DeAndre Ayton, but it just, when it comes down to Ayton, when I watch him play, it's just like he's bored out there. He's bored because it's like he can go into the paint and dominate any big man.
Doesn't that concern you, though, if his motor's now a question? Or do you think it's going to change when he gets to the NBA?
I don't want to give that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, that cliche answer of like just
wait and see?
No, right coach. Pair him with the right coach that
Okay.
can bring it out of him. And like, if the Hawks think they have the coaching staff to make him want to and not make him bored, then I think he can be a great player. That's the one like negative I see with him.
I know
right
you're very
now.
high on Budenholzer.
Well, yeah, I mean, Bud is a great coach, and we've seen him, take, 4 All-Stars on the team, and he's been under Pop. I think that, he's gonna be under the right coach if he goes to Atlanta, because right now Phoenix doesn't have a coach.
That's the interesting thing to say. Actually,
they got Jay Triano as their interim, and you don't know if he's really going to stick around. I would say they'd probably look elsewhere. But then again, if you look at the Suns, what if they bring in a Fizdale? I mean, Fizdale's a guy that could be a true motivator. Playing basketball, and we've seen that he's a very fiery guy. So I think that one thing with Ayton is it's a big worry on if he will be able to play defense, just because if he wants to play defense, like you mentioned, it's kind of the Cat syndrome. And we see that even with Cat, he's playing with Tom Thibodeau, like one of the best defensive minds, and he's still not been able to really figure it out. I feel like, it's something where you're going to have to just accept that he might not be a great defender.
Well, and I mean, the thing that I think of is, and of course I don't know DeAndre Ayton personally, but I wonder if it's not a like Cat where it's like, I don't want to play defense. I wonder if it's just like a, you know what? There's no challenge here. Like, I'm not being challenged by.
I mean,
like, not just defensively. I'm talking all around.
Are you talking Ayton in college or Cat in the NBA?
No, I'm talking Ayton in college. To where he's just like.
Similar, do you remember Shaq in college? To the point where he. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is when you're so much physically ahead of the competition, it isn't super challenging. Shaq dominated games, and to be fair, like he took
backboards.
He took time off. Like during those games while he was playing. So that's the only thing. Like if we're talking about being leagues ahead of people physically, Ayton has the body of like a 30-year-old man, like fully built already. It's just confusing to me.
Yeah, it's freaky seeing him down there because he's just a mountain pretty much down there. He looks like David Robinson when he was back in the 90s. I mean, he looks like that type of archetype of player. So I mean, again, it's something where I feel like it doesn't really matter to the coach, because I think it's more about Ayton himself. I think that Ayton, it's more of not only wanting to try, but also how much defensive IQ does he have? And I think that he lacks that defensive IQ and that ability to really pick apart an offense and realize how the play is going to develop. I mean, obviously he has nice block numbers, but when you're 7'1" with a huge wingspan,
you just toss an arm up around the rim and you're probably going to get a block.
Yeah, having pythons out there, you're going to be able to stuff guys who are backing you down and turn around and try to post up on you. I mean, like that's just going to naturally happen. In an NBA defense, I don't really know if he's going to be able to adjust. But then again, with Budenholzer, he might put him in the right positions where he's not going to be going one-on-one against a Karl Anthony Towns absolutely destroyed offensively, or a Joel Embiid.
And maybe he helps him think like defensively that it's like, wow, I never thought of it.
And one thing too, I think they did it with Dwight in Orlando. They used to do a sort of a zone where it looked like a man, but Dwight was constantly in the middle, just running the paint back and forth. And I feel like that's what they might do, where Ayton won't be a defender technically. He will just be more of a rim protector as much as he can be. And he obviously has the size and athleticism to do that. It's just really working on his neck to become that rim protector like a Dwight was back in 2009.
My main concern with him is being abused in the pick and roll, because we see the 1-5 pick and roll. I mean, the NBA has really turned into a very heavy pick and roll, pick and pop gameplay. And with point guards the way they are today, how athletic they are, how quick they are, that's my one concern. If you can hide him from those, then yes, absolutely. Like, I think you can work with him, but if he starts to get abused in the 1-5 pick and roll, then I start to worry because he's one of those guys who, like we see bigs get pulled out of games late because you can't have them on the floor. I mean, that's concerning to me. And that's, again, I still would take him 1, but that's just something to think about, that how you have to develop him, how you have to system around this guy, because offensively he is incredibly gifted, but defensively, I don't know if he has the foot speed to maintain those pick and rolls. I don't know if he has the IQ defensively to see where plays are going to unroll.
Well, I mean, it's like the joke that Chris Bosch made on First Take this week, where they're like, he's like, yeah, with all the pick and roll now, everything I was getting criticized for when I played, I can do that now. I don't have to play defense now.
Yeah. So I think it's one thing where Ayton, you got to put him in the right spots defensively, and that's going to be something that comes out. But then again, I don't know if, like, looking at Ayton, if he's going to be the star on a team, and that's why you look at Phoenix.
Does
I would
he has
say,
to be there?
Yeah.
But but I'm saying, like, with Luka, I feel like, and maybe not Phoenix, but he would be the guy that you look to as the guy on that team. Where in Atlanta, obviously Luka. I'm sorry, when in Phoenix, it's going to be Devin Booker's team because he's been there. He has the highlights. He has that name as well attached to him. I feel like that's going to be a guy that really draws that attention away from Ayton. I don't know if it's really a good or bad thing that the attention is going to be drawn away from Ayton per se, but I don't think he's ever going to be the guy if he goes to Phoenix.
I think he'd be a great 2 for them. Yeah, yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see. Anyways, let's go into to the Dallas Mavericks. We being Ricky and I have Mo Bamba going to the Dallas Mavericks again. I said this in our Dallas Mavericks thing. If it's 1, it's Mo Bamba. If it's 3, it's Mo Bamba. If it's 5, it's Mo Bamba. I understand people love Jaren Jackson Jr. I understand that people love Marvin Bagley. But Mo Bamba, with his athleticism, with his wingspan, with his size, this is a guy that can be an absolute freak. He's shown the ability and a nice touch from the outside. He's shown the ability with the ball in his hands to drive to the basket. And I understand that he might not be as polished of a defender as Jaren Jackson, but that's something that I feel like he can pick up. And with his wingspan, his athleticism to run back and forth, defending the rim, being a rim protector, I feel like this guy can be maybe DeAndre Jordan with a jump shot, maybe even a little bit different, a little bit better. I think that looking at Mo Bamba, pairing him with Dennis Smith Jr., Harrison Barnes, could be an absolutely deadly top 3 or big 3, if you want to put it like that. And I think that Mo Bamba can be a guy that can develop into an absolute star in the NBA. And I feel like the Mavericks, while Jaren Jackson and Marvin Bagley are out there, I feel like Mo Bamba is the most potential. He'd be the BPA pick, and that's why I'm going with the Mavericks, taking Mo Bamba.
The thing that I think is going to change this pick the most is what happens to Wesley Matthews. What happens if he declines that player op? And the interesting thing with how the NBA works, and you and I were discussing this before Black Panther, which I hate, is you have
he
the
loves
draft.
Black Panther. He
No, I hate
discussion.
what I'm about to talk about. I love Black Panther. You'll see that review later. But I hate how the draft is in late June. League season doesn't start till January 1st or July 1st. Free agents can't sign until July 1st. That just seems backwards.
So we're drafting without knowing our free agency. Yeah.
And that's the thing is, like, if Wesley Matthews goes, I'm going to decline that player op, which in today's NBA, usually players decline that player op to try to get more money out of the contracts. Yeah, it's 18.6, but I don't know what Matthews is going to think. If he says no, then do the Mavericks go, okay, there's not a shooting guard that we want to take at 3, but do we try to go with a Michael Porter Jr. who could play the wing more so than a Bamba and kind of mix the Porter Barnes and, like we talked about, moving Barnes to the power forwards situation and do that instead of going with a 5 and Bamba? Yeah,
I think that Wes Matthews is probably going to take that player option because I don't think anyone would, in their right mind, give him more than $18 million this upcoming year. It's nothing against him. It's just this year teams are mostly strapped for cash. His performance really hasn't warranted it. He has not been as good as he was before his injury. Like, it's just, I'm being honest, he's not going to get that money in the open market. So I think it's a pretty safe bet to assume they're going to end up being stuck with him for one more year. And that's why I'm leaning, I'm going, we're all going bigs here. It's no surprise.
Yeah, so why Jaren Jackson over Bamba?
I'm rolling with the hype train. And let me pre-state this with, I understand that Michigan is a better team than Texas, but every advanced stat across the board screams Jaren Jackson better. Offensive rating, defensive rating, BPM, OPM, or OBPM, DBPM, and BPM outright. Every advanced stat out there is Jaren Jackson is better.
Real quick, with offensive rating and defensive rating, that also speaks on how well the team is.
That's why I said that.
No, but I know, but like you can't say like, I know Michigan State's a better team than Texas, and then here's all the stats, the advanced stats that show why Jaren Jackson's better. Again, like offensive, defensive rating, it's gonna show with also the team as well. That's not, those aren't solely individual stats. I know.
That's why I
yeah, but you threw them out there, so I'm gonna take them down.
I'm not gonna not state it,
and I'm not gonna sit here and just let you trash Mo Bamba. So
but if you go to the individual stats, the OB.
Speaking of dick,
God, you suck. You know
what's the OBPM, Dave?
All right, so OBPM is offensive box plus minus.
Yes.
So when you're on the floor, points scored. Obviously, he beats him out in everything individually. He has a better shot. He can stretch the floor. And as far as defensively, well, Mo Bamba has 6'9" wingspan, which is incredible and just bonkers because you showed me
7'3" wingspan.
No, I thought you said 7'9" for Bamba.
Oh, my bad. I thought you said 6'9". You said 6'9", and I said 7'3". So we're idiots.
It's 7'9". And you showed me that picture earlier. He outreaches the box on the backboard, which is bonkers. But look, Jaren Jackson, I think everything you want out of a modern day power forward center mix, he has it, and he will continue to get better. I think Bamba, like you said, his top end could be a DeAndre Jordan. What we see out of Jaren Jackson Jr. is what we're looking for in today's NBA.
I know, and I agree, but also I think one thing with Jaren Jackson, you're working with Tom Izzo, who has had how many NBA pros? I mean, this guy has
he pumps them out.
A laundry list of NBA pros. He knows how to work with these guys. He's putting them in situations where he has Miles Bridges, Nick Ward, Langford as well. He's got a ton of NBA talent around him where he has the confidence to become that shooter. He has the confidence to help because he knows his teammates are going to be there. Again, I think Tom Izzo is putting Jaren Jackson in better positions, and also he's on a more talented team. Again, I think that Jaren Jackson statistically has been better than Mo Bamba, but I also think that shows a lot on what team Jaren Jackson is on compared to Mo Bamba. And I think that, all the potential and all the skills are there for Jaren Jackson. I will not disagree with that, but I look at the potential. I look at the wingspan. I don't think there is a ton that separates them on tape.
I disagree on that. I think that watching Bamba, he has been inconsistent on offense, and he's a guy, he's not going to be the one. Right now, he's the best player on this Texas team, and he can't lead them because he only plays one half of the court, and he only plays consistently.
I don't know if he plays one half the court.
No, I'm saying like he only plays consistently on defense. Okay. Like his offensive game is hit or miss, and he doesn't take over games.
But I think that's one thing where, again, Dennis Smith Jr. would be taking over games. Harrison Barnes would be taking over games. And I think one thing with Mo Bamba, again, he is very young. I know Jaren Jackson's actually younger than him, but it's one thing where Mo Bamba, I feel like he's still developing his game. And again, Jaren Jackson's working with Tom Izzo, so he's going to have a better development process in college compared to working with Shaka Smart. I know Shaka Smart's a good head coach, but you look at the list: Eric Maynard, Larry Sanders. I think who was the guy last year that came out of Texas?
You're trying to really impress me here.
Who was Jared Allen? Jared Allen came under Shaka Smart. I mean, he has some pros, but none of these guys are jumping off the page, and I don't think he's ever worked with a talent like Mo Bamba before. And again, Bamba, while he has been inconsistent, he has still shown the flashes there, and I think that's why, again, you might see more consistency out of Jaren Jackson, but when you look at their best moments put up against each other, I look at Mo Bamba as a player that can be a little more fluid. I understand that Jackson has better court vision and is a little bit more better of a passer, but I have seen Mo Bamba take it from beyond the three-point line and drive in on players, and you can't stop it. And this is a guy that's going to get bigger
he's
and
a bit
stronger.
of a freight train,
Yeah, he's going to get bigger and stronger. Right now, he's a stick. So I feel like there's more room for Mo Bamba to grow, where I don't understand that Jared Jackson's younger than Mo Bamba, but I feel like Jaren Jackson's game has been more developed because he's working with Tom Izzo and working with a Miles Bridges and a Nick Ward and a Langford as well. So I feel like that's one, and Winston, I think Cassius Winston graduated. But my point is that Spartans have better players in their teams. They have a better coach, and they're going to be developed more because they're a higher level team and they have a higher level coach.
Well, and I think the thing that I go to is what you guys were just saying. Think about the Mavericks. Are they closer to a Texas? Or are they closer to a Michigan State? Meaning, are they going to have the pieces to where, hey, we can take Jaren Jackson and it could be like a Michigan State situation where we don't have to lean on him. He's got the other players to go with, like you were saying, Michigan State. Or do we have one where it's like we've got to go out and get a guy that needs to help take over this team from the front court. And that's why I went with Mo Bamba, because they're closer to that Texas side of it. It's like, yeah, they got Harrison Barnes, they got Dennis Smith Jr., but they're not as complete of a team as like where I had Jackson going to the 76ers.
Well, one thing with that is I think that Jackson would be able to thrive in Dallas. I think the one thing that just separates them is that Mo Bamba has more room to grow than Jaren Jackson. I feel like Jaren Jackson...
potential's greater.
I think the potential's greater.
That's what you're saying because of his body.
Because of his body, and I think that he's going to become a more consistent shooter, and then you can also work with him down low in the post, and he's going to become more consistent with his shot. I look at Mo Bamba, and I feel like there's more room to grow, and I feel like he has shown that potential in games before. You look at the TCU game, he's shown that potential. Where Jaren Jackson, he has been more consistent, and that's why people like him. He might be even a safer pick than Mo Bamba, but I feel like the potential is greater with Mo Bamba compared to Jaren Jackson. Jaren Jackson might be a better basketball player right now as we are currently talking, and with Mo Bamba, I think there's just more room for him to grow with the shot. You look at the TCU game, it was something where he was consistently finding his outside shot. You see him being able to post up down low. You see him driving in from beyond the three-point line and attacking. I think that with Mo Bamba, you can develop that shot more, and he's going to become more consistent on offense. And also with something on Texas, he has less people to take the pressure off him. So he's going to be asked to do more. He's going to be put in to moments where he's going to get the ball late in the shot clock. I think that, with Jaren Jackson right now, I'm not saying that, he's doing well because he's just on that Michigan State team. I think Jaren Jackson's a phenomenal player. It's the reason why he's in my top 5.
Yeah.
But Mo Bamba, to me, I feel like has a higher ceiling, and I think that's why teams are going to go with him. If Jaren Jackson goes above him, I wouldn't be shocked. So that's my one thing.
For me, I just see the shooting right now and going, okay.
It's more consistently there for Jackson.
It's consistent and it's cleaner shot, and I admit the opportunities are better for him. Like you said, it's a better chance to succeed because he is not the relied upon only guy on this team with a chance to make the NBA. There's a difference there.
The one thing that I saw when watching Jaren Jackson consistently, and I'll use the Minnesota game as a example. He went, I think, 4 for 4. He started the game off 4 for 4 from 3.
Yep.
And all of his threes were wide open. He didn't have to think about it. He was walking up, unguarded, just knocking down threes. I think there was one where he had a guy closing in on him coming forward, but he had at least time to catch, shoot, and then he already had his eyes on the basket, and then the guy was starting to close out. So he had a guy in his face when he ended up shooting, but he had the time to compose himself and go up for the shot. Where, Mo Bamba, while he isn't comfortable out there yet, he isn't hitting a high percentage. You see that when he steps into a shot coming down off a fast break, he's able to nail it. He's able to hit it coming off a pick and roll and popping out to the outside. And he's got that trebuchet where it's a little awkward, but it still isn't that bad of a looking shot. Like it's something where
it's not broken.
It's not broken, and it's not like a Lonzo shot where people are going to be able to block it. I mean, the guy's 7'9" wingspan. It's not a clean shot. It's not like, oh my God, it's Reggie Miller, base, fundamentals of a basketball shot. But again, it's working for Mo Bamba. And I think it's something that you really don't need to change as long as he finds that comfortability of being out there. Again, I don't think it's going to be the main game, the main aspect of his game, but it's another wrinkle to his game.
And just the one last thing that I'd say about the two, if we're comparing them, the thing I like about Bamba that I don't like about Jackson comparing the two is turnovers. Yeah, Jackson has more turnovers, but it's like 10 to 12. So it's like, okay, you're in the ballpark. The thing that's a red flag for me between the two, 65 total fouls this year for Bamba, 89 for Jackson.
Right.
You got to bring that foul number down.
The difference is the physical level of defense that Michigan State runs. If you look at Michigan State across the board, their entire team is actually a higher percentage than the average in the NCAA right now. And I get that because of their system, but I agree. It's not something that you look forward to seeing all those fouls.
Jaren Jackson was also more aggressive.
Yeah.
Mo Bamba isn't.
He knows his wingspan.
Yeah, that's one thing. Mo Bamba isn't really attacking people out there. That's one thing. And he's attacked people offensively at times, but I would say Jaren Jackson's more aggressive, and he has a higher motor. So I would give that to Jackson. I mean, I think you guys on the Primetime Podcast could easily have a Jaren Jackson versus Mo Bamba topic.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
That'd be great.
Brandon.
So I mean, that's something where these two guys. You have the potential in Mo Bamba, and then you also have more of a finished product, even though he's younger in Jaren Jackson.
And that's how I see it. I think. I disagree on the potential levels, but I just think the cleaner shot, the make me come out to the
potential by room
range.
To grow. I mean,
which means you're worse. That's all it means.
but also it's something where Jaren Jackson's already built. I mean, Mo Bamba, there's no really knowing of how big this guy can get. I mean, we look back at Joe's days back at Kansas and how much bigger he is now. I mean, like you can see a glow up for like that glow up. But, you know, you can see something like that with Mo Bamba. So I mean, like, we don't know the potential of Mo Bamba's body. He can continue to be a stick. And Jaren Jackson, again, is a safer pick in my mind, but I would rather go with Mo Bamba because he has that ability to become, I think, a great defender in the NBA. And I think offensively, he can be a guy that does everything for you on the floor. And maybe not passing, but he does mostly everything, at least decently, on the floor. So, I think it's up to personal preference. But for me, and Ricky, I'd go for Mo Bamba going to Dallas. But anyways, let's move on now to the Magic. Got some guy named Trae Young. I don't know if you guys heard about him. Pretty damn good player. If you guys want to hear more about Trae Young, check out Brandon and Ricky's subject of our topic of Trae Young versus Colin Sexton. They compare the 2 point guards in this the top 2 point guards in this NBA draft. But with Trae Young going to Orlando, they need a superstar. This kid can be it.
Well,
right?
and the thing I love most about him, and this is kind of reiterating what I said in that, but it's true, is I love the fact that I don't love that people are like, oh, he's going to be the next Steph Curry. But I look at his game and I'm like, all right, I see some things that Steph does that you do well too. Like shoot the 3 ball. That's going to obviously be good in this modern NBA. But also, I just like his vision. There was one play, I can't remember what game it was, but he drives around baseline, draws 3 players with him, and then over the back like this, finds his power forward sitting there at the block to go up for the jam. Didn't even look at him, just behind the back, threw 3 players to a wide open player.
Yeah, no, I respect the creativity, and I think it's the same as Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a great passer, but he likes to go for some risky passes sometimes, some stylish passes. And yeah, the distance from Trae Young is just ridiculous. He steps over half court, and you have to actually respect him, and it's just ridiculous.
I mean, he is a volume shooter, though, and I know that was some of our comments were like, yeah, but his 3-point percentage is because he's a volume shooter.
It's going to fluctuate, too.
Yeah.
Real quick. This is something I want to bring up.
Okay.
You look at his usage rate, and it's absolutely stupid. The guys that get used as much as Trae Young play on, like, Iona. Like, the most recognizable names in the top 30 of all time, since the usage has been statted since 2009, 2010 on College Basketball Reference, Doug McDermott and Jimmer Fredette.
Ooh.
Yep.
I think he's 4th all time in usage rating in a single season, and the other guys, you have no idea who they are. Like, I think the one kid was, like, from Central Michigan, who was, like, the leading scorer, like, 3 years ago or something. Like, he is being used at an absurd amount. So, yes, he is he's not hitting, 40% of his threes and 90% of his free throws. But the kid is also doing so much, and he's also damn tired on the floor because he does so much. Well, so, he might miss 2 free throws a game, but that's because he's tired and going to the line at the end of the game.
Well, and that's also the thing of, I think of, this isn't going exactly that, but it kind of plays into it, is because of the Oklahoma team he's on, I see most teams go in, and nowadays it's going to be like, hey, you know what? Let's shut him down. Let's limit him. Let the rest of them beat us.
Well, that's
the rest of these guys beat us.
He still tries to distribute the ball. He's not one of those tunnel vision. Yes, he can get that way. If he feels hot, he's going to force heat checks on himself.
Yeah.
But the thing is he's always looking to get these guys involved. And like you said, this Oklahoma team isn't exactly stacked. So their plan to win games is through Trae Young.
And what better way to kickstart the Magic than to get all 11 starters going with Trae Young?
Boom.
He gets them all in the game.
I don't know. I think that Trae Young, though, has that superstar ability, and I think that the Orlando Magic desperately need that. And him and Aaron Gordon could be an absolutely fun
unless
pick and
they
roll
trade
duo.
him. Remember, they were fielding offers.
They're fielding offers, but they're not going to trade him now because the trade deadline's passed.
Could be a draft day trade.
Shut the fuck up.
Just ruin your day.
No, but I think Trae Young and Aaron Gordon could definitely be an interesting combo. But again, looking at Trae Young, he would be 4th all time since 2009, 2010, since they started doing that whole calibrating usage. Jordan Washington is number 1 with 39% from 2016-2017, played from Iona. Chris Clemens from 2016-2017 played for Campbell. Jalen Riley played for East Tennessee State. Antony Bowes played for Nicholls State. Jimmer is there at 5th for Brigham Young. Gerardo Suero from Albany, New York. I was going to say Albanea because of Suero. Joel Wright from Texas State. Marcus Keene from Central Michigan. Siobhan Lewis from Marist. Trey Anderson from Eastern Illinois. James Daniel from Howard. These guys.
I think you've proven your point.
The thing is, like, these major programs.
Usually Power 5 teams
do not use guys this much.
Actual teams.
Yes, they do not use these guys as much as Trae Young. So, I mean, like, it's one thing where I don't think you have to look at his percentages or his free throw percentages. You have to say, this kid is doing something unheard of. Coming in as a freshman, putting up the amount of points that he is, doing what he is offensively, both distributing the ball and scoring. This guy is doing so much for his team. He's not going to be a defensive player, and I think that his usage is clearly going to go down in the NBA. But I think that he has shown that he can handle so much of a workload and be a star that you have to take the shot at him if you're in the top 5.
Can I ask the question then? Is he one of the highest bust rate picks in the lottery?
No.
No? You're not afraid of him pulling a Jimmer?
No, because I think Jimmer was something where Jimmer was strictly a scorer. And
Jimmer
was
didn't have the assist. He didn't have the assist division that Trae Young
I don't
has.
think it's something.
Right.
But Jimmer
No,
was a guy
as far
that
as volume scoring, and then that was his big asset. But
Jimmer also didn't fit into a position. You know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't really...
Professional chucker's not a job?
Jimmer didn't have the speed to really get off screens. Jimmer didn't really have the ability to fit into an NBA offense where Trae Young...
is undersized. He's undersized.
He's undersized, but it's something where, again, if you have even if he's not your point guard, he can still be a spot-up shooter for you. I mean, he still has the ability to stay in there as a shooter. I mean, hell, he might be like a very small J.J. Redick. Like, I think that, like, he's going to be a guy that can, at worst, come off screens and still be one of the best three-point shooters in the NBA.
Okay, I think your floor for him is still pretty high.
I think that he can still be a starter in the NBA. I think his floor is a starter in the NBA. I think that his high could be an all-star. I'm
looking at this top 10. I'm seeing so many guys who have the tools, and the bust potential is much lower. And I'm looking at him, and I'm going, he's the only one I see who has a very high potential in my mind that, like, it won't work out for him. But I'm not saying it's, like, he's not going to. I think he's going to be a stud, but, like, I have to ask the question out of this lottery, I
think that out of this lottery, the biggest bust potential is probably a guy like Kevin Knox or something like that. I mean, you have Mo Bamba at 11, Dave?
Yeah,
I was going to.
I didn't realize
when you
that.
said at the beginning of the podcast, when you're like, we're going to talk about my Jaren Jackson. How about his Mo Bamba at 11?
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
But like a Kevin Knox right there at 10, like I feel like he could be a bust. Possibly Miles Bridges if he's not able to find a shot.
But I mean, the expectation versus pick.
I think that's the problem. I think the expectation for Trae Young will be the problem, not his actual potential.
Okay,
I think that his ceiling is an NBA All-Star. I think his low though is a starter. In the NBA.
I think the Steph Curry, comparisons. That's my only concern is his mind, his ego.
But to put that, the NBA. To bring that up. If, let's say he does, let's say his potential is he is just as good as Steph Curry. Just throwing it out there. If you are a team, how much would you kick yourself if you're like, well, we passed on him because we thought he would bust?
And that is but
and
that's
six
that's
teams did that to Steph Curry.
And the
he was
Timberwolves did
7th
twice.
overall. Yeah,
Timberwolves twice. Just tossing out there Timberwolves.
Like even Draymond Green, how many teams he had to go through?
34.
Well, that's the thing is, this is why I think he's one of the guys who could be still in the conversation for that number one pick because of that comparison, because of that potential.
I thought about that at 1 too. I was thinking about putting Trae Young at 1. Because I still think Colin Sexton. I still think Colin Sexton's a better point guard.
He's a more complete one.
I think that he would be. If I had to pick Trae Young or Colin Sexton, I would take Colin Sexton. But the thing is that. Again, we have to think about what NBA teams are thinking. We have to think about what NBA execs are thinking. What
and
the
potential
whole,
just reeks.
Yeah, what the whole at least shine on these kids are. And Trae Young has been getting the most media attention. He's been getting the most shine. And you also got to think of a team like the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns haven't been really raking in the attendance money. So if they bring in a guy like Trae Young and he hits, you got the next superstar in the NBA. So not only are they thinking on the court, they're also thinking about what this guy can be, not only on the court but also like future outside of basketball.
And the thing that hit me, you brought in Colin Sexton, the thing that hit me between those two is, I've said this before, I watch both of them, and I think it's eerily similar to the same conversations we had last year between Lonzo, who was a shooter-assist guy, and De'Aaron Fox, who was a pure driver.
I would use shooter loosely.
No, but I'm saying in college. No, in college.
His numbers weren't
in college.
Awful.
His numbers were not bad from beyond the arc and stuff.
But if you watched him play, you knew it wasn't.
Trae Young's putting up 29 points per game. That's like double what Lonzo did in college.
It's exact, but it's the same kind of like, hey, we've got a shooter assist guy and a guy who's more of a driver and doesn't assist.
Lonzo was more of a driver and a facilitator. Markelle Fultz was more of a shooter. Markelle Fultz was more of a scorer and a shooter. Yeah. Like Lonzo shot and shot from deep from 3 because everyone else was focusing on who he just passed to, and like TJ Leaf, and they kicked it out to him. I think that I understand that maybe the better player in Colin Sexton is not getting as much a shine as the more media focused guy. I think you can make that where but like I'm saying, like Lonzo Ball and Trae Young were the focus of attention, the center of attention last year in college basketball.
Whereas De'Aaron Fox and Colin Sexton aren't.
Or even Markelle Fultz, too, because Fultz was a point guard as well. So, I mean, like, those guys weren't getting the same attention as their counterparts. I think you can make that, but I don't know about the shooters or everything. But let's move on now to the Kings. I have him going Jaren Jackson. I think it's a nice fit at that 4 or 5 spot. I think he could work as a 4, and then pairing him with Willie Cauley-Stein could be nice. But you guys have Michael Porter Jr.
Did you only do that because of the Zebo question? Like, I look, they've got Scal.
Zebo's
they've got
38. Like,
I know.
He's not. I don't care about Zebo. I'm not looking at Zebo
that's what
right
I'm,
now.
Like, but I look at all the bigs that they have, and I go, they don't have, to me, I mean, I like Justin Jackson, the kid that came out of UNC, but I look at their small forwards and go, if Michael Porter is there, how do you not take him?
They need a small forward. I don't disagree with that.
Well, Bogdan's playing right now.
And he's been doing a nice job.
well.
Yeah, he's doing a nice job of firing out threes. But I think at least defensively they'll need more of
He's a two-way player.
Yeah, but like
respect him.
Okay, but I think with the thing is that there is the ability to draft a guy in Jaren Jackson with less question marks. Who is more of a finished player right now because we haven't seen Michael Porter play. We know that what he's been doing from high school on.
He could come back this season.
But we haven't yet.
We're gonna get that. We're gonna get to that. I'm talking more about Jaren Jackson and letting you guys talk about Michael Porter. The thing with Jaren Jackson, I feel like he would just fit in there. He's more of a solid player compared to a Scale, compared to I forget who else is even there. I was gonna say Papagiannis, but they cut him.
I was saying that's why they need depth. You need to bring him in because you cut Papagiannis.
I think that you look at Jaren Jackson pairing him with Willie Cauley-Stein. Buddy Hield, De'Aaron Fox. Jaren Jackson could stretch the floor. We've seen this. He can be a great defender as well.
Absolutely.
I think pairing him and De'Aaron Fox and pick and rolls would be disgusting. Also, those two defensively would be disgusting. I feel like I would rather go Jaren Jackson over Michael Porter, especially with the injury question. But now, with Michael Porter saying that he might be coming back soon, coach of Missouri, I forget his name, came out and said that he's not going to play in the next 2 games, but they're going to look and see if he's going to get cleared for practice and contact. So Michael Porter, their turn might be coming. What do you need to see out of Michael Porter to stay in that 5th spot? I mean, could he possibly drop for you guys?
Just don't get hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he
don't
could easily
re-injure
drop.
yourself.
That's the biggest thing is he could easily drop, but you have to remember coming into this year, he was 1.
Yeah,
and we were all expecting him to stay 1. He is one of the best prospects coming out in the last couple of years, and I just go, if he's still there at 5, you take the risk. The NBA draft is all about potential. There's no guarantees, and there is no chance that you will 100% hit on your guys. And I know that we're talking about Jaren Jackson being like
special with the Kings.
Special, Jesus Christ! Don't jinx the man already. He's not in the NBA yet. But
no, I'm saying like they don't know how to. They picked Papa John's for Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So I think Jaren Jackson, he would be a good fit. He just wasn't there on my board, and I didn't want to go with Bamba there if I did a straight swap because I don't think he fits because I do like what they have in Willie Cauley-Stein.
Yeah, I wouldn't put Bamba there because I didn't think he would fit as a 5. But,
exactly.
But Jaren Jackson could play that 4 or a 5.
Exactly.
So even if they end up going away from Cauley-Stein, they can move him to the 5 if they need him to. So I think Jackson over Porter. The thing with Porter is, again, he's one of my favorite players in this draft. I would still put him if I was making a big board. 3 or 2. I would probably put Ayton or Doncic there, but he would be in my top 3. Again, the question mark is though, how is he going to return from this injury? How much is this injury going to affect him down the line? And one thing too is he even going to come out? I think there's too many question marks around Porter. Where Jaren Jackson, I've been seeing what I'm getting on the floor. I love what I'm seeing.
Yeah. No, I mean it's the known versus the unknown, and the problem is the unknown has more potential. And I'll be honest, like I respect the hell out of Jaren Jackson Jr. And I think he's one of the better prospects, but it's not even close what Michael Porter Jr. couldn't do and how he can change a franchise. If what we saw him do in high school continues to grow into the NBA, I mean that is your number 1 guy coming out, and it's just I can't pass that up.
And I'm not saying this could happen, but like, what if it does happen? Where Porter comes out and plays in the NCAA and just looks like another Miles Bridges or something like that. Maybe a bigger Miles Bridges. Like we don't know what we're getting from Porter. He's looked great in high school. He's looked great in United States play as well. I mean, like he's been fantastic before, but what is he going to be now? We haven't seen that. I think he's got to do a lot if he does come back from Mizzou and prove it, or when it comes for the combine.
What do you mean by a lot? Does he have to get like a certain amount of points?
I'm just
per
saying
game,
he's got to come.
or-
He's got to come out, and I think he's got to make this Missouri team better. I think he's got to come out. I think he's got to look like he belongs in this conversation. He can't come out there and be a guy that's struggling from the floor. He can't be a guy that's not going to be the guy on that Mizzou team. The only guys that we're talking about right here that aren't the guys on their teams is Jaren Jackson Jr., and that's because he's got a sophomore ahead of him, Miles Bridges, and that team's so loaded in Michigan State that he doesn't need to be the guy. Same with Wendell Carter as well, because he's got another guy in Marvin Bagley there.
Yeah.
The only players that don't have a counter that aren't the number one guys is because their counterpart is above them in the draft, or is in the draft as well in the top 10.
And that's the
one
thing I look at is if he comes back, he's got to be the number one guy. Like, there is no question that if it's like, oh, Michael Porter Jr. is the number 2 guy at Mizzou, we're looking at that going, what?
I mean,
because of like what you said, he was the number 1 on the big board coming into the season.
I think he has have a strong tournament play for the Mizzou. I think that's got to be the thing,
which is great for the Kings. They love their great tournament play.
No, SEC tournament because I haven't been following NCAA basketball as much. I've been watching games, so I haven't watching the rankings or Jill Lenardi's bracketology or whatever. I don't know if Mizzou's making the tourney or not. But if fucking Michael Porter goes out and helps him win the SEC tournament, goddamn, yeah, he's gonna be probably rising on my board. It's just gonna be something of what is he going to bring if he comes back to the game of basketball. But anyways, we are at the top 5. Let's run quickly through the top 6 to 10. Grizzlies, I haven't taken Marvin Bagley, so does Ricky and Dave. Marvin Bagley, he looks good. What are the concerns?
My biggest thing is, for me, at the beginning, it was, Ayton versus Bagley. Now Mo Bamba's passed him. For me, on the next mock draft, for me, I like what I've seen from Mo Bamba, and the P word that we've mentioned, the potential's greater. Now you got Bagley with the knee injury, and then there's part of me thinking, is Marvin Bagley the best player on this team? Is Wendell Carter better than him? Would I rather take him? And I think that maybe in the next mock draft, depending how things go, maybe Jaren Jackson jumps Marvin Bagley.
Dave, what's the problem with Marvin Bagley in your mind?
It's a question of the fit in the NBA. I mean, kid can be a dub machine all day, every day. It's the question of, will he be the guy in the modern NBA, be able to stretch the floor out, have defenses respect his distance? And honestly, that's about it. It's just fit. I think, honestly, Ja scared the crap out of people. When you watch a big with great offensive handles, but the speed isn't there. The difference is that in Bagley, we have someone who has a motor that does not stop ever. He is up and down the court. Like, I could see him being, a 15-10 guy, but I don't see him taking that step and being a 25-12. He's not like Kevin Love on the Timberwolves good. And that's the thing is, when you're drafting this high, you have to think you're getting someone who is going to be the guy on your team. And I get you're 6 now, but still, there are guys there who I believe could still be that guy. And he's someone who I see more as a B or a C player on your team. He's not your number 1.
But one thing with Bagley, that's the reason why I think he fits well with the Grizzlies. You look at him, Mike Conley, Marc Gasol as well, and pairing him with those two, I think that would be a great pairing of those
agree.
3. So I think that's something where Bagley, I feel like he's got to have the right fit, not only for him, but also the team. I think Bagley being on the Grizzlies could be a nice
match
one.
made in heaven.
Let's go to the 7 Cavs. I haven't taken Michael Porter Jr. Could you imagine if LeBron stays and you have Michael Porter Jr. on that team? You have the possibility of LeBron trading, training the next LeBron. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. I don't know if Michael Porter's going to stay there, but that's the way it falls. I mean, I'm not sure with how many question marks there are around Michael Porter that we already talked about. I'm not sure if he's going to be a guy that is taken in the top 6. So Michael Porter falls to the Cavs, which is absolutely disgusting. And I think the Cavs should really be outlawed from having this pick, because it's honestly ridiculous that they might be able to add a guy like Michael Porter, or any of the guys we talked about above, on their team.
You do realize this is a Cavs in the lottery. So what's going to happen? They're going to walk out with number 1 pick.
Well, and the one thing too is the Nets are worse. The Nets are getting worse along the season. They're losing.
How many? I mean, they're down to they're down to their bench roster starting.
They are losing a ton of games. The Cavs might have the number 1 pick again.
Yeah.
Be scary. I don't even know who they're going to take.
They're just going to bring in Machine Gun Kelly to sit there in his Cavs jersey, and then they're going to win the pick.
Didn't they ban his son?
Who cares?
The owner's son?
Let's talk about the picks.
Yeah.
No one cares. Let's talk about the picks. With Miles Bridges, why does he fit on the Cavs?
The thing, and I was talking to
Dave, Machine Gun Kelly.
He was there, and they won the draft lottery, whoever they bring. But I was talking to Dave about this before Black Panther, and Dave hit the nail on the head when we were talking about it, is because of where the draft is compared to free agency, I feel like the Cavs at this spot, because I was thinking either small forward, point guard, and I was like, all right, Colin Sexton, move George Hill over the 2. But then I'm like, you know what? If there's an inch of just a little bit of an inkling that we're going to lose LeBron, go with a small forward. And the best one for me was Miles Bridges.
All right, Dave.
I respect that. Physically, he's great. But I like the LeBron going for 3-and-D players. Let's get somebody out there who can force people to play on the outside. He's a great tweener, and he is someone who those skills will go straight to the NBA level. I don't see any question there. The thing for me is this pick, like you said, could go a couple ways. This is one of the landing spots I had from Mo Bamba. I'm like, if you know LeBron's back, get yourself a guy at the 5 who has a good motor and who defensively is going to scare the crap out of people coming at you down the lane. So it was close, but I did want to go with we're going for wings, and that's all we're doing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Cavs do. I mean, if LeBron stays, I think there's still even that possibility. If Michael Porter's on the board, I don't think they pass him up.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Mo Bamba's already gone. Jaren Jackson's already gone. There's not a 5 out there that you can really go with, in my mind. Maybe Wendell Carter if you really feel like it. But if Michael Porter's there, take Michael Porter.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's enough with the questions. Go with the potential.
No
I mean, like, I feel like if the Cavs have the...
It's a great way to restart your franchise for the 3rd time in the last 8 years.
Not even. What if LeBron stays for, like, 5 more years or whatever, and then Porter...
Does he have 5 years, you think?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm saying, like, if they sign him to a max.
Okay.
If
No,
they
I'm
sign him to a
saying
max,
he's
He's
5
5
years
play
of
for
playing.
5 more years.
LeBron?
Yeah.
I'm not questioning that.
The
That guy's a
man's
robot.
reverse aging.
What, he's only 33?
32?
How old is he? I quit. I don't know his age because it always seems like it's younger.
He's gotten in better shape as he's aged.
29 years old, right? Yeah.
He's going to turn 34
Yeah,
in
he's
December.
got 5 more years. He could play till he's 38.
Easy.
Kobe played till he's 38. Jordan played till he was like 49.
Kobe played without an Achilles for a couple of years.
Jordan's still playing. And yeah, that's one thing. I mean, LeBron never had a major injury.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Until that happens, who knows?
Knock on wood. Anyways, let's move on to Devils, your team, guys. I have them going with Wendell Carter. Just real quick, I know that the 3 is a need for them out there, but they also have a pick at 16. I feel like you look at the Bulls, you go Wendell Carter Jr. because this is a guy that you can pair down low defensively with Markkanen, and I feel like he's going to be a nice pair with him. And I know, again, I know what you're going to bring up, Ricky, but I feel like there is more depth for wing players in this draft compared to a guy in Wendell Carter who possibly might be the best player on Duke and possibly has that potential to really change a franchise.
You look at Sean's top 10, it shows you how much he hates the Bulls. Not only does he have us passing on 1 Bridges, you have us passing on 2 Bridges. I'll take either or, Sean.
Because the potential's better with Carter.
I'll take either or. We don't need a big. I'll take Mikhail.
See, I say we literally just traded a shooting big, and I get it because Wendell Carter actually plays defense, but like you can't pass on Bridges.
I'll take the 3. For me, I'll take the 3-and-D.
Which one fits? So you're taking 3-and-D guy.
I would take Miles Bridges if he was there. However, he goes to the Cavs in my situation.
Okay.
Take Mikhail.
So,
I like Miles Bridges as a better fit for the Bulls.
Why is that?
I think his physicality, his defense, and his body, his build is really good, and I think that would fit their team better. I like the 3-point shooting. I like that. That would fit Hoyball just fine, but I like Miles. I think he's solid. I think he's a guy who will play in this league for the next 15 years.
Again, I love Miles Bridges. I loved him last year, too. Mikhail Bridges is going to be a great 3-and-D guy. I just think Wendell Carter, pairing him down low defensively, he could be a stud. And you look at, Zach LaVine obviously hasn't been great, but he's still been injured. Chris Dunn obviously has been injured recently, but
what he's done in this 1 year of development time
was great. So I mean, like, you can find a guy where at that 5th spot, if I have any weak spots, like, I'm fine with it being my 3 because you can find guys who could just stand out there and shoot threes in the NBA. Like, again, I know
I don't feel good.
Again, you guys have them going differly. Yeah. I feel like you can find a player late in this draft.
Many bigs, and I know we're gonna probably move Rolo, and we're stuck with a She Can Destroy's contract. It is what it is.
But don't forget, we still have the 16th pick too. Thanks, Pelicans.
We do have the 16th pick, and we do have part of the 1-2 punch. So I mean, like, I'm just saying we're pretty big down the. Yeah, but he plays small ball 5 for us really well.
Yes, but I feel like Carter would be a better. I feel like Carter versus Bobby Porter is 100 times Carter, hands down.
See,
like,
I don't know.
Carter's a better defender. He's a better basketball player. Like, I would take Wendell Carter right now to start over Bobby Portis. Like, that's the thing. It's like, it's not even like, I don't know. No, Wendell Carter's a better basketball player than Bobby Portis.
Bobby Portis coming out look decent. Wendell Carter looks better than him right now. I just don't know. Again, it's the unknown versus the known in my mind.
Wendell Carter's like 18 years old. Bobby Portis is like 97. Like
he's like 23.
I'm joking. But
he's still on his rookie contract.
I'm joking.
He's 23.
But the difference is that Wendell Carter as a 19-year-old looks better than 23-year-old Bobby Portis.
But you have a shitty worst case scenario, you have a slightly shittier version of him versus having Paul Zipser as your only small forward
The
on
zip
your
There
roster.
is free
The zip
agency and a
god.
ton of more picks to address the small
And I
forward
understand,
position.
to be fair,
You
we are
could
not
even-
trying to win
real-
games, so that's probably why we're rolling with the zip god.
Real quick, I'm going to spoil something. Grayson Allen does not go in our first round. The Bulls could take him, plug him at your 3.
Got some veteran leadership right there.
I'm just saying. You could,
At the 3?
That's a guy that can.
He could chuck up threes,
He could be
but
a
I
2
wouldn't
or
say
a
he's
3.
a 3.
He could be a 2 or a 3. I mean, he's not that small. I mean, Grayson Allen, you could plug him in as your 3 if you're playing small ball. Grayson Allen could be an outside shooter for you, right there. He can play gritty defense for you, and he could shoot from the outside.
Trip guys too.
I mean, that's a thing where hell,
defense.
like you could find guys out deep in the second round, not even at the 16th pick, that can be a 3
he
and
learned
D guy.
from the school of Draymond.
you talk about
Gritty defense.
bear hugging LeBron. He's just gonna
He
trip
ain't
LeBron.
no Captain Kirk. We don't go that route.
Anyways, I
Moving
think that I understand if they go Bridges. I'm not. There's a lot of options there.
You can't
Both
pass
Bridges. Around
Bridges.
there. I feel like you can go with Bridges. You can cross over Bridges. I feel like you can go with one of the Bridges. I would just rather go Carter. I feel like Carter would be a better fit because you can pair him with Markkanen. You have Dunn, Levine, Markkanen, and Carter there as your big 4, and you could always address a 3-and-D player in free agency or with the 19 other picks you have in this draft. I think it's 3. But anyways, I'm just dramatic. Let's now go to the 9th pick, New York Knicks. I have taken Miles Bridges. This is a kid that has rose to the occasion. You see him in that Purdue game. Mm-hmm. He consistently was hitting shots in big moments for Michigan State, brought them back from a deficit. This is a kid that in the Big Apple would shine. I feel like he could be a great scorer. He could be good defensively for you. And looking at that team, if KP is never the same guy and Frank is still developing and Moutier is never going to hit that potential, Miles Bridges is going to need to be a scorer. He's a scorer. He's the easy pick for New York. I know McHale might be a better defender, might be more of today's archetype of NBA players with 3-and-D, but Miles Bridges I feel like would be a better scorer. I feel like he fits in New York better.
Well, I mean, that's what made my decision kind of hard was not only the KP injury, will he come back the same player, but also you look on it, another player op to talk about. Enes Kanter, is he going to take that money? Is he not going to take that money?
Yep.
To me, if you're worried about KP and the injury, then I would have put Jaren Jackson here. But I'm not worried about that. You need a small forward. Kevin Knox was my best one available.
See, I had a similar thought as far as the center position. Again, another spot Mo Bamba could have gone, and I was like, nah, fuck that. We're going Colin Sexton.
Yeah. What's up with that?
What's up with that?
You got Moutier and Frank.
Let's be honest.
Moutier's still under contract.
I'm not exactly sold on Moutier at this point.
I mean, he didn't look bad.
He has
First game in the Pacers,
he played a couple good games. That's super. That's super. But
3 games as a Nick.
I know, but no, in his career, I'm saying it's not. We've never seen him consistently play well, and I understand the adversity he's gone through in his career up to this point. But what I'm saying is the ability to add someone like Colin Sexton, who is a complete point guard, and have him play next to Frank at the 2, and you have 2 great guards together. I think that is the perfect set for their future backcourt going forward because you have excellent defense. I mean, excellent defense from the 1-2. And then you have a guy in Frank who has, once he gains more confidence in that shot, he's going to be a decent shooter because the motion's there, the shot selection's there. Confidence needs to come. I think the ball handling skills for Frank, I talked about this coming out before he was drafted. They were going to move him to the 1, but he wasn't ready. And I'm glad that the Knicks have kind of realized that forcing him to play 1 before he's ready is a just recipe for disaster and turnovers. So I think this is like the ultimate way to get around their situation and set them up best for the future.
And finally, the Philadelphia 76ers with that Lakers pick at 10. I have them going Mikal Bridges. This is a team that probably should address that power forward position because I know they got their boy Dario there, but he's more of a bench, coming off a bench guy. I don't like him in the starting lineup. You can address the power forward position, but with possibly J.J. Redick not coming back, you don't know if you're going to be able to re-sign him. Get a guy who can be a 3-D player. I know you already have Rocco, but hell, you can never have
enough wings.
Enough wings. Look at the Boston Celtics. I think Mikal Bridges would be a lovely fit there for the 76ers, especially with Ben Simmons facilitating.
Well, and I mean, one of the things I wanted to mention before we went on to the Sixers was 7 to 14 is what I'm calling the Colin Sexton range. He's either going to go as high as 7 or he's going to go as low as 14. I don't see the Clippers not taking him if he's there. But the thing I looked at with the 76ers was, first off, the J.J. Redick thing. I'm like, they got to get a shooter. But then I'm like, you know what? I think the 76ers are probably like, you know what? Let's hope that Markelle Fultz comes around because we drafted him for a reason. And like you said, I looked at that power forward. Amir Johnson's up at the end of the year.
Ugh.
Trev Book's up at the end of the year. You guys can walk. We'll take Jaren Jackson at number 10.
Well, to be fair, they do have a couple of Euro stashes that are potentially developing.
Do they really?
Are they going to
super
come over
shocked by
them?
that?
Yeah, I know. The Sixers Euro stashes, what? They have 2 over there that look like they could come over next year. Probably only 1 will, but we'll wait and see on that. I do have them going Kevin Knox here because you want a guy who can shoot from that 3 spot, and I think that would be a massive help for them. Another shooter added to this team. You got Ben at the 1, you got Markelle hopefully at the 2, and in case you don't re-sign JJ, which I think that's going to happen anyway. But I just see this being like, you're adding offense, you're adding a decent passer, a decent rebounder. Like it's just a good wing fit for them.